They also sell glassware for weed smoke.
Then you start to lose the train of thought. Empty churches just do have rancid energy.
I bought some rocks the other day.
Bought some rocks?
Yeah.
Like out of a big bin of rocks at like a place, or more conventional rock purchasing?
No, I think kind of like I think some might call them crystals.
Some might,
but they are merely mineral deposits.
Very different. Thank you, Marie.
Yeah, I went out for breakfast the other day, and I was going back to my car. There was like this little like hippie shop, and I went in there, and they had like a whole bunch of like, they had a whole bunch of stuff that what you'd expect, but they also had a whole bunch of little like crystals. And I was like, oh cool, they got some agate and some jasper. That's neat.
I love that.
So I got a couple of different types of mineral deposits. Just always, it's so strange to me because I remember seeing them all the time in like every tourist trap as a kid, where you could get like a little rock bag.
Oh yeah, every now and then a Facebook post about that will pop up, or and just be like, oh, why did we all go crazy for this?
I wasn't a rock bag kid. My sister was, though.
Yeah, we were rock bag kids, and because my parents, I want to shout out my mom, being a smart person here. Did not let us buy the just colorful dyed rocks. She always made sure we actually bought like real like mineral formations and like real rocks, and not just the neon colored aquarium rock. I don't know. I personally love that.
I think that they are. I didn't get it as a kid. I wasn't interested at all. My sister was always the one who wanted to get like a bag of rocks.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it's so funny that the grift just changed directions, but it wasn't not a grift then. Like when you were buying like a rock bag, it was they were paying I don't know how much for like some mineral and sediment deposits
paying
that like were
pennies on the
polished.
dollar for if they're not polishing their own and getting them even cheaper in chunk.
Yeah.
Then they're getting them pre-polished still for pennies on the dollar for what they're selling to you.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And it's like, how many rocks can you stuff in the little bag? And you think you're getting away with it by stuffing that bag full.
I got a bunch of the coolest rocks.
Right, and meanwhile, they're like, yeah, okay, whatever. We're still like making out like a bandit over here.
Yeah, it's like $1 for like a kilogram of quartz.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can buy a ton of quartz for like $100.
But now you just attach the white people spiritualism of, did you know that rocks do things?
Oh.
And now you can charge twice as much for those same rocks that you can buy by the kilogram for nothing.
I would like to see the numbers on the how much were the rock bag rocks, because I don't remember. I was a kid and I never got them. My sister did.
I feel like I remember a small bag being like $4 and a big bag being like $10.
Okay. That's not too bad. I feel like the crystal grift is pretty bad. I mean, I got like when I went in there, they were like $1. A couple of them were $2, but and obviously there's like more expensive ones and like carved ones and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so strange that the target demographic, they're like, well, people aren't going to rest stops as much in the Appalachian Mountains, but they are going to. Going to like hippie shops, and like they are going to wherever they can sell you a piece of agate for $10,
a single piece. Yeah, honestly,
it is all the
wild.
rocks, like they all had little like blurbs on them. They had like a little thing that was like, this will the one of them I bought was it's a Dalmatian jasper, which isn't actually technically jasper. It's just it's an igneous rock, but it looks really cool and it looks like a Dalmatian. And it was like $1, so I bought a chunk of it. And the thing on it was talking about what it was used for. And like, I believe this was the one that said something about communication. And not to be a hater, but kind of to be a hater on like New Age spirituality, but I really don't think that buying a spotted piece of igneous rock will make you a better communicator. And I think that if you were banking on that,
here's the issue, right?
You might be in a weird spot.
So much of this stuff, it'll work because you think it works. So if you have your Dalmatian jasper on you, and it's like, well, this is actually, I see. I just found a picture telling me what it does, which is luck, joy, and balance.
Oh.
And affirmation, my
So
spirit
if
is
you get your
grounded
big toes
deep in
chopped
the earth.
off,
So like,
replace them with Dalmatian Jasper.
well, here's the thing. Like, if you have this with you and you're like, this will help. If you believe that, it will, like you get the placebo effect of you're so sure that it will work that it's like, yeah, it'll help because you have your little MacGuffin with you that like makes you feel braver about it. I mean, I get it. I feel better about myself when I wear my boots. Like, I don't know what it is. The boots with the fur really just hit sometimes. But no, like, honestly, like when I had my boots out to be repaired, shout out to this guy, by the way. I had to drive 45 minutes into New York to find a guy who could do boot repair. And it turns out this guy actually sells that brand of boots. I didn't even know what brand it was, which he thought was really funny.
This other one I got, Marble Jasper, is apparently used to boost physical strength and endurance.
Gosh.
I just picked it up and I'm literally about to go bench press the universe.
God, it's...
See, I didn't actually read the blurbs except for the one that's like communication because it just made me giggle.
Mm-hmm.
I just like picked up the stones that I liked.
Yeah.
But I feel stronger already.
Man, it's like... It's just like a good luck charm, and if you attach a certain meaning to it, then sure, you're gonna...
Yeah, but if the meaning is like it helps you communicate better, you can kind of be like, oh, well, maybe it did. There's some plausible deniability. Increasing physical strength seems like a bit of a bold claim for a rock.
But let's
Right?
say you have that rock with you and you go to the gym because you're like, well, I have my rock. It's going to help me increase my physical strength. Now you're working out, but since you have the rock with you, you're like, dude, check it out. The rock is helping.
If someone ever does that, they're allowed to, to each their own. First Amendment, but come on.
I'm aggressively trying to not be a massive hater.
But come on.
I believe we're probably the two biggest haters on the podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
Somehow, Dan is not one of the biggest haters. Dan,
He's
congratulations. He's top 3, but his place 3 position is definitely lower than you would expect. But I really try not to be a dick about stuff like this when it really isn't like, it's not directly hurting people. It's just something that I find to be a little bit cringe.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it is hurting people because depending on where people are getting their minerals and mineral deposits from, a lot of them, some things are mined. Like, you can get a lot of agate, you can get a lot of jasper in the United States, but a lot of things are mined internationally, and I would be willing to bet the people who are mining those minerals might not be getting paid fair amounts. Yeah. And you're getting charged a ton, and other people are getting money off the top, so it's kind of like, it is kind of hurting people depending on the, because a lot of the New Age spirituality is harmful.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of stuff like the Palo Santo and some of the sage is like really unsustainable, and also half the time being used in a way that's super ignorant of the original like people that used it ever. Mm-hmm. But I get what you mean though.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's obviously the more you zoom out, the worse things can look. But yeah, even with zoomed in, New Age spiritualism does not hurt people.
They also gave me when I checked out there in the little bag that they put the rocks in, they had a flyer for the psychic fair.
Oh.
So, you going?
Not to be a hater, but I don't think I will.
Are you busy or you just don't feel like it?
I'm busy. I'm busy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
That's definitely the reason.
That's fair. Yeah, that's understandable. I'm probably not going either, and I don't think that I'm busy. I just don't really want to go.
Let's see.
The psychic fair, though.
Oh, the 29th of April.
Oh, you got the tech.
I got the tech.
Looked into it.
Oh, it's right in town, huh?
Yeah, I was it's one of the
5th annual Love, Light, and Healing Psychic Fair. So this is really funny timing. I just came across a person on TikTok today who
I actually woke up in a new Bugatti, so.
Oh,
yeah, a lot of changes.
This person on TikTok talking about dark energy in their house and that it's haunted. And
pretty scary.
It is very difficult for me to listen to stuff like that and not be like, well, I mean, come on, because I'll sit here and I'll listen to these people talk about, oh my gosh, it's crazy out there. And I'm like, I believe that you believe there's a lot going on. I believe that. But also, I have never had an experience like that where I wasn't prepped to have that experience first. Because, yeah, I'll go places and be like, ooh, this place just doesn't feel right. But it's because somebody said, dude, I'm going to take you to a place that has really fucked up vibes, you know? Like, and you go there and you're like, ooh, yeah, the vibes here are kind of weird, aren't they? But I have never, at any point, except for empty churches just do have rancid energy. And I don't know how to convey that in a non-weird sounding way.
I think, yeah, it's just any kind of empty echoing hall, empty churches, empty schools.
Mm-hmm. Empty schools. Somewhere
empty
where
school
you never are
auditoriums.
there.
That was like...
Yeah, anywhere that you exclusively would attend and there's a lot of people feel very bad when they're empty. Office buildings, even, also don't feel good empty.
Yeah, when I go into work in the morning, it's pretty much just me in there. At least like walking through like the halls. There's like like one or two other people depending on the time in there, but most of the building is like completely empty, and it definitely feels a little just strange. But yeah, I'm not a purveyor of cursed vibes, I suppose, or dark energy, if you will.
I don't know, it's so many times where I almost get it, and then other times it's like, and then I see people like, oh, when I stand right here, I feel like I'm having heart attack symptoms. I'm like, you've worked yourself up so much that this is happening. I don't know, man. I get it and I don't get it, and this is something that I'm squarely going to also place the blame on growing up in a lightly fundamentalist way, where every single experience in life like that, you just like immediately write it off. Like, well, I mean, you know, that's not even real. And it's made it very difficult for me to even just like lightly engage in that kind of stuff in a fun way. You know?
See, for me, it was more of it was real, but the culprit wasn't who you thought it was.
Who was it?
Damage.
No.
Like our Flat Earth acquaintance.
A Flat Earth acquaintance. Man.
Who's been on a crusade.
Did you see I got in a fight in his comment section?
I didn't. I didn't. I know that he has been, it seems, falling out of some favor.
Yeah,
with people in his life that are normal.
Yeah, you know why? It's because he's being more and more hateful and weird, and people who are normal are like, man, I could keep up with you when you were just being a little intolerant, but now you're being really intolerant, and it's just too much.
Yeah. Initially, it was like 90%. There's actually secret 500-foot giants, and they are what make up hills. Hills aren't real; they're buried giants.
Which is
and mountains are
funny.
melted giant houses.
Yeah,
that was the craziest. The mountains are melted giant houses.
Right? You can see. Look at this window, and it's like that's just pattern recognition. I can be like, oh, look at this face, and it's just like some knotted wood. You know, like that's normal.
Yeah.
But no,
Look
that's
at this
probably
window.
a
What's
spirit
behind
bound to the tree or whatever.
True.
A demon, if you will.
Huh.
But
sorry, I got scared.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you like that. But then, yeah, I don't know. You can find it. It's on that post that you linked me to with some falling out happening. But he deleted two comments on that. One where his friend called me a cuck, and the other where I responded calling him a jackass. And
calling the friend?
Yeah, calling the friend a jackass. I eventually bowed out of the conversation saying, I think you're really stupid and not worth wasting my time arguing with. So this guy, in a move that just proves that he's right.
Yeah.
He posted 5 memes in quick succession tagging me and just being like really rude to me needlessly. So Flat Earth then yelled at him too. It was just like, hey, cool. Thanks for having my back, buddy.
That's the thing.
Kind of.
I know, and that's like the craziest thing is like ultimately, like as insane as he is to some people, like he just doesn't understand that he's insane.
Mm-hmm.
He thinks that he's just like just another normal person. Like he will think that his like disagreement with someone over the earth, being flat and housing ancient giant bones, is the same as somebody being like, I don't know, I just feel like I'd rather have a pear than a nectarine.
Mm-hmm.
Which he's
honestly,
like,
I respect the fact that he's not going to really argue with me over the fact that he really sincerely thinks the earth is flat.
Yeah, and he also won't really name call anybody over it.
Yeah.
Like he's not gonna be like, and you are I don't know, nincompoop or whatever he'd call people. He's not like he doesn't dive into like the ad hominems, which I feel like most people in that camp do.
Mm-hmm. Although he will call people a slew of things if he thinks they're being heretics.
That's true, yeah. If he thinks they are blaspheming, like that one guy, I think may or may not have threatened to kill.
He didn't threaten to kill him, but he did tell him directly that he is praying for him to die and be struck down by God.
But like, isn't that the same thing?
The one
Because
could think.
he believes it.
Mm-hmm.
So he genuinely thinks that that's what he is doing.
Yeah.
It's like if somebody thinks that, like, I don't know, something that is relatively harmless is actually poison, and they're like, haha, I stuck this, I don't know, like elderberry juice in your food because they think it'll kill you, but it doesn't matter at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not really attempted murder, but effectively it kind of is.
Yeah.
Not in a criminal way, but in
not
like a,
not in
man,
a criminal
you
way, but
you thought
like,
you were trying to kill me.
Yeah. Like, legitimately, you did this with the intention of me dying, even though...
Yeah.
Damn, dude, you gave me vitamin C tablets, and they're actually just good for me, but you thought they would kill me, and that's kind of fucked up.
Yeah, and I'm kind of mad at you for that, but I feel like that's the equivalent of what he did.
But then, you know, he turns around and is like, hey, you have to be nice to my friends.
That's true, yeah.
Which is funny, since his friend was being mean to me, but since I backed out of the conversation and the other guy just kept going, he got yelled at instead.
Yeah, it's almost like not being an idiot and a jerk made you look like the better person.
Yeah.
Or some would argue it even made you the better person.
I would argue that, in fact. You know, Nina and I were talking about it, and we're like, you know what? I think he's really still incredibly shook up that I, left the faith, which I do believe he definitely is pretty shook up about that still, since he's engaged multiple times with me about it. And that's understandable. I get it, you know? But then he sees his friend telling me that he hopes I meet Jesus before God sends me to hell. And he knew that wasn't going to make any sort of points that I haven't heard before and already am incredibly opposed to. And yeah. I think it's really interesting.
It's almost like that's a weird thing to say.
It's almost like it's a really fucked up thing to say, yeah. Like, oh man, I think you're gonna die and go to hell, and I'm happy about it, but for your sake, I hope you meet Jesus first. Yeah, well.
I wonder what that guy who said that to you thinks about the guy who said secondhand clothes are evil.
Well, he thought there's human meat in McDonald's, so I'm willing to believe that? Guy who said that to me.
You thought there was human meat in McDonald's?
He is very sure that there is human meat in McDonald's foods, and that's why they were going through a whole like lawsuit right now.
I love when there's like insane fast food conspiracies like that, where they're like McDonald's is secretly using humans. I mean, no, because if you actually know how like the farming system works, it's pretty messed up what they're doing, but like not to humans, because it's way more expensive to put human meat in your food.
Honestly,
beef is like pretty cheap, especially if you're like grinding that real hard. You know, if you really are grinding it down, you can produce a pound of beef a lot cheaper than you can produce a pound of human flesh.
Right.
So I don't think McDonald's is secretly conspiring to put human meat in their food. But again, maybe I'm the crazy one.
It's just so funny, like seeing people talk about stuff like that, because they're so sure that they're right, and that saying things
the answer
like,
is most of the time, it's like Subway's chicken, where like the secret wasn't that they were putting bleach in the chicken, it's just they were adding a lot of soy. And like, you know, sure, now you're paying for chicken, but you're getting basically tofu, so I'd be mad too.
Yeah.
Because you're paying more money, and you're not getting what you're paying for.
I would also be mad.
It's not like a grand evil conspiracy. I mean, it's kind of evil in that they're like ripping off customers.
Yeah.
But it's not.
But it's evil in the ripping off
humans
sense, not because the people who are so sure that like, oh, they're putting powdered babies in this, and it's like, why? Do you have any idea? People have no idea how hard it is to source the things they think are in food, like horse meat in the Tesco lasagnas.
Horse meat in Tesco lasagnas? Hold up. What's going on with that?
Oh, it happened a few years ago. It was found that they had horse meat in them. Like
they literally eat like regularly. Not like on a daily basis, but horse meat is common in France compared to where it would be like the States, and probably in the UK is not common either. But like there's parts of Europe that still eat horse.
Yeah.
I know like people eat horse still in some parts of Japan, I believe eats horse, because I know there's some styles of food that you can get horse in Taiwan. Like Mari's been like, yeah, there's places that just sell horse meat.
Yeah,
She hasn't had it, but
yeah, no, I
it's
can
like,
respect not having it because I gotta be honest, I don't really want to try it.
I would. I don't respect horses.
Fair enough. I just don't
No,
want to try
no,
it. It just
actually, I don't
doesn't
think I would.
sound good to me.
Just want to. No, I don't think I would sign up for it, especially because it's probably more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not, as easy to get. It's not as easy to market. Chicken is quality, and chicken is cheap. Pork, I love me some pork, and pork is cheap.
Mm-hmm. Pork's cheap. Chicken's cheaper.
Sometimes, depending on the market, sometimes pork is actually cheaper than chicken these days.
Really?
It's crazy.
I do love that.
Kind of crazy. But depending on what kind of pork you're buying, I mean, there's a lot of variety there. And also what kind of chicken you're buying. Nothing will ever be cheaper than like chicken thighs with the bone in.
Mm-hmm. I do love that.
I went and I ate some pork yesterday that maybe was cursed.
No. See, we were, speaking of pork, before you tell your pork story, we were just at Barnes & Noble looking at cookbooks, among other things.
We're at Barnes & Noble in the meat section.
Yeah, in the meat section,
they have one now.
Looking at the meat. And, I was trying to pick out what exactly I wanted. No, but we were looking at a Puerto Rican cookbook, and there's just so many, like, pork recipes in there that look so obnoxiously good. And Nina and I were just like, oh, we should definitely make some pork. We should do pork.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I think it's probably my favorite of the big three, if you will.
If you will.
Like if I had to choose, if I go somewhere and they're like, oh, what kind of, if I'm getting like I don't know. Now that I'm thinking about it and trying to come up with an exact scenario, there's not that many times where you're offered just an open choice.
There's really not, yeah.
I mean, I guess sometimes if you're like if you go to like a Mexican restaurant, you're getting like fajitas, they'll be like, what do you want? But in that case, I'll usually pick chicken because it's typically shredded pork.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's like shredded pork or like chunk chicken, I'd rather take the chicken. But yeah, I usually would pick pork or chicken. I pretty much never pick beef.
I get that. I also would probably avoid beef as a general rule because a lot of the time chicken people know goes dry, So people tend to try and not make it go too dry. Pork people know goes dry, so they at least will give it to us in like sauce or something like that. But then beef, I don't get it, man. People do beef.
I just don't enjoy it as much. Like if it's all the same, if it's all good, like if I'm under the assumption that it's all going to be prepared in like a fairly identical way in terms of quality, I'm pretty much never picking the beef. I think it's my third. It's like it takes the place that Dan takes on the hater list. The surprising third. I think I go pork chicken beef if I had to pick.
I can get with that. Unfortunately, you had some cursed pork recently.
Oh yeah, that's right. I did. Potentially. No one is liable because it could be anything. It could go back to a hand washing face touch that I may have done. It could be an error on my end of things.
Of course.
I don't want to, because no one likes that person who gets like sick off of eating something and then is like, aha, it was this person that did this to me. Like the finger pointer with food poisoning.
Yeah.
Because you don't know. You weren't there. You didn't run the numbers. You didn't see when the bacteria got into your system.
No, I did actually, but go off.
Okay, well, yeah, if you did, then by all means. But I went to a baseball game yesterday.
Did they win?
It's baseball season now. They did in overtime.
Oh, our local
fun.
Team?
Yeah.
It's not often that I see them do well.
Seawolves.
Shout out to the Seawolves
They came in second place in the entire league last year.
Really? You know what?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was always told that I lucked out every time I went to see them because they won. But also that was like
they were bad
20
for a
years
while.
ago. So, and like 15 years ago. Long times ago.
Yeah, I got some tickets from work.
Nice.
Got some free tickets, so I went to the game. It was Jackie Robinson Day. It was pretty fun. They had it was a good time. Got a summer shandy when I was there.
I do love a good shandy.
It was the first summer shandy of the summer season. I'm not really like a big drinker, but I love a summer shandy. Mostly because it's 80% lemonade, but hey. And then I got a hot dog, and I was gonna get the one with the pulled pork and mac and cheese because that's the best one.
Oh yeah.
On top of hot dog, but they didn't have any of the mac and cheese, so I had to get the Cuban dog.
Which,
and I love a Cuban.
That also sounds really good.
Yeah, it was good. But I believe that it may have led to my demise, in that I was then up all night vomiting and stuck in the bathroom. And that was the only thing that I could trace back to having eaten that would have been that kicked off the
Could have done the whole thing.
episode.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely seems like a non-zero chance.
Yeah, and initially it was, I had a couple beers and I was like, oh, that's probably it. I don't really drink that often, so it must just not be like sitting well with me. And I just kind of like wrote it off.
Yeah.
And then as time passed, I was like, oh, it's actually getting kind of like, I'm feeling worse. And then I tried to eat something for dinner and I was like, oh, this just actually made it so much worse. And then the rest is history. And here I am today. Fine, but having eaten nothing but some rice today and some Gatorade.
It's wild how much just like some plain rice can really help settle your stomach again, though.
Yeah, it really is.
Like I never think about it until I like really need to, and then I never really do either.
No, rice is like one of those foods that like it's incredibly bland in the best way.
Yeah.
Speaking of rice, someone at work who will not be named said, because we were talking about food, like foods we didn't really like someone had brought it up, and they were like, oh, you know what? Like, my least favorite food has got to be rice. And I was
what a
so
hater
offended.
thing to say.
I get it if you're like, yeah, I don't really want to eat like a bowl of rice.
Yeah. Or if you're just like,
Sure.
I don't like white rice, but I like brown rice even. Like something where it's
Yeah.
like you think white rice is too bland.
Yeah, if you're like, I don't want to eat like a white rice, but I'll eat like fried rice, Like you give me like some white rice fried up with some, egg and some peas and some carrots, and like I'll eat that. But no, they were like, rice has got to be my least favorite food.
That's so weird.
I feel like everyone has entitled to their opinion, but that's wrong.
Yeah, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but that is so
But you are
wrong.
incorrect. How is like least favorite? Come on.
I can't imagine.
There's nothing that you're like, actually, this is a little bit worse.
There's
Like
so
if I
many
put-
things that are worse.
I know. And there's like if I put like some like, I don't know, like blood cake in front of you. And I don't mind blood cake, but if I put like a blood cake in front of you or a bowl of rice, you're telling me you'd be like, of the two of these, the rice is more off-putting to me.
Yes, definitely.
That is so strange. Or if you were to like, here's like some rice and here's like a, I don't know, like the like Beijing style stinky tofu that's like black and like
Yeah.
borderline rotten fermented, which I think would actually be my least favorite food on the planet in theory, but I've never gotten close enough to smell it. I've been in its vicinity and purposefully stayed away because the regular version is very off-putting to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. You tell me the rice would be more offensive to you. I just don't believe it. I think it's a hater take.
It's such a hater take. It's
Rice?
It's honestly, it's such a hater take that it is frankly like it's offensive on so many levels because of how much of a brain dead hater take it is. I'd be
I feel like
less annoyed if
if that's
someone
your-
said bread was their least favorite food. No, I wouldn't.
No, I
It's an
wouldn't.
entire
I
food
think
type. It's like it can be a thing of its own, or it's an ingredient in other things. How are you going to have like write off
I
an
know.
entire thing? It's not like
Yeah.
Brussels sprouts. Okay, fine. Brussels sprouts can be a little hit or miss for people. I think you're wrong because I think Brussels sprouts are pretty great personally, but I get that. But there's nothing objectionable about rice.
I know it's like literally that's one of the things like when you're sick, when you have like some kind of intestinal turmoil, like the brat diet they always call it, with like the bananas, rice, applesauce, toast. It's like the classic that you're like supposed to eat if you're got food poisoning or if you have like the stomach flu. So like you're telling me you think that's gross. You think that one of the four things that your body is like most able to process in its lowest form, you think is gross? You're just a hater.
I've never, by the way, you say bananas, rice, applesauce, toast?
Yeah.
I love that. I've never heard that before.
It's classic.
It makes sense to me. I like it. It all clicks.
Yeah, it's just like things that are super inoffensive to the gut. Like things that you could eat and you're never going to be like, oh, you'll never hear someone be like, oh, I ate that banana. Now I don't feel so good. Unless they have an allergy. Like, well, except for this one person, I guess. Oh, I ate that rice. Now I don't feel so good. I was very taken aback by that.
God, that's so weird.
I know.
I don't like it.
Yeah, everybody else had different things on there. Like, some people were like, oh, I can't stand like chitlins. And one guy was like, oh, I actually hate meatloaf because my mom used to make the worst meatloaf, is like what he said. And I was like, oh, Fair. I love meatloaf, but I feel like if you had a bad meatloaf experience for years, I can see it being like gross.
Yeah, I get that.
But again, and even then, I was like, oh, I disagree, but I understand. And then someone's like, rice. No.
God, it's such an interesting idea. Just
Yeah.
couldn't disagree with it more. I'm so confused.
Yeah, I know. It's like it may be the worst answer.
I'm stuck in this like annoyed loop of just like
Yeah, I know. It kind of just made me like frown for the rest of the day. I was like, how'd you get this far?
how are you going to
That
be
would be
here
like
in
someone
life
being
and just
like,
be like I hate a
hate
core
corn.
ingredient?
Yeah, it's like if you hate like rice, wheat, or corn, then like do you just hate that humanity ever gained a civilization? Like do you just hate that we?
So I will say I understand corn if you don't like corn, because corn is not like a lot of people when they have corn, it's just corn. You'll have hot buttered corn or
That goes hard though.
oh, it really does. It really does. But some people have never gotten to appreciate corn in all it can be. They've only experienced it at that level. And I still disagree, but I get it more, because sometimes if something's too bland, you just don't get it. But I really don't get that for rice.
I know it. I think if you were to have to pick one of those like, OG humanity Fertile Crescent type staple foods, I think corn is probably the most like dislikable, but even then I still wouldn't trust anybody who doesn't like who would write off corn. And it's even one thing if you were like, I don't really like rice that much, but it's number one on the list of least favorite food ever. That's the part that really got me.
Yeah, it's the level of extreme take that it is.
If someone doesn't like, if someone gets, if you get like takeout from like a Chinese place and someone doesn't touch their rice at all, I'll be like, couldn't be me, but you can do that.
Yeah. More for me, thanks.
But being like, that's actually the worst food on the planet. It's indefensible.
Yeah, man. So here's me inserting more into the situation than you're telling me, and probably like just muddying the waters. But
you could be correct though. Who knows?
It reminds me of the people who hate on like tofu too much, and they get really big.
I think you're right
on the I'm a meat eater train, and it ends up just sounding really racist because it's like, why would anyone in this day and age eat tofu when meat exists? And it's like, it's not for you then. That's fine. You don't have to eat tofu, but it's still like it's a core ingredient like and staple of a cuisine enjoyed by more than 50% of the world.
It definitely comes off as like at least diet racist.
It
but
does.
I think most of the
and
people
I don't
who
think
do
it's
that,
usually intended that way.
No, it definitely isn't, because I think it's more of a backlash to the way that specifically like American people were introduced to tofu for the most part, of it being expressly a meat substitute and not just like a thing you can put in stuff.
Right? Like it's not a meat substitute, it's a meat alternative. Or it can be used as a substitute.
It's not. It's just a food.
Exactly.
And that's the thing is like if you go to, I'm a place like China, Japan, anywhere that eats tofu a lot, none of the people are like, oh yeah, I don't eat beef, so I eat tofu instead.
No,
they're
it's
like,
just
oh
like,
yeah,
oh yeah, I
you
eat
ever had
beef
like,
and I eat tofu because I like both.
I got some like fried tofu on a skewer because it's like it's just congealed soy and it's pretty tasty. And then they also will be like, yeah, and I also love chicken. It's just for whatever reason when it like was marketed in large part to America, it was as this is for people who don't want the meat option. You can have tofu instead. So like there was like a backlash to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the problem is that there's people who are still living in that backlash, which can be said about pretty much anything that's ever had a backlash. There's always people still living in it.
I don't know, man. I would love to understand people who make their mind up about something once in a reactionary way and never think to revisit it. Because I know I've done that on a great many topics in my life.
I'm a hater. It's known.
I've made more than a few snap decisions that I don't stand by.
So true.
Now, dare I say, I've said a great deal of things on this podcast. I don't stand
snap
by.
Decision that they don't stand by.
Was it George Washington?
It was Thanos.
Thanos? I hate to say it. I think he did stand by that snap decision, and that's I'm gonna say it. It's fucked up.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of. Did he never have a moment where he's like, sorry guys?
No. He was just like, I saw through my grand design, and then I deleted, or not deleted, I used the glove to destroy the glove so no one else could ever do it again and reverse it.
He never, like, at no point he was like, sorry.
No.
That's so cool, because I thought he was probably gonna, like, at the end be like, sorry guys, and then die anyway, but like be sad and change his mind like they always make villains do.
No,
I'm glad he got to really like stick to it and be like, yeah, no, I meant it.
No, he 100% saw it as his perfect world. And it's very funny to me that there was some other story. Nina and I were looking at this too. Oh, no, it was last week. Dan and I were talking about if I could do anything, I would do this, you know, when you're talking about a small scope thing where it's like, oh man, if there's one thing I would do this. And you can easily fire back with, really, if I could only do one thing, I would simply stop racism, or, you know, like do that like
I love that
ass trump card that's always hilariously funny.
It's the classic of somebody being like, oh man, this is like one of the worst things that's ever happened to me. It's just so bad. And they're like, oh really? It's worse than like
any
the Holocaust?
Exactly.
You're like, oh, come on
now, calm down. There's no reason to like.
It's not.
We're looking at small picture. You know very well.
You don't have to bring up the worst thing ever.
Yeah,
just because I said something was bad.
Exactly. And
if your only metric for bad things is the worst thing ever, and you can't let somebody be a little dramatic for just a minute.
Sometimes you need that little bit of dramaticness to like help center yourself again. You know, you have to be a little extra.
That's where the UK kind of gets it right. I'll say it. That's when like they have the phrase "come off it." That's the best thing that's ever come out of there, and I wish I could say it, but I would never, because it would make me more like them.
Oh, this is the worst day ever. Oh, come off it. Just like that.
Well, not that, but like when you would, if someone were to be like, you're like, oh man, this is the worst day ever, and they're like, oh really? What about when they dropped the bombs on Hiroshima? You're like, oh, come off it. It's like, just you know what I meant. Don't do this. It's just the greatest. Like,
you could also just do what Dan did to me, where he's like, shut the fuck up. You know what I meant.
Well, yeah, and that's what come off it is. It's just like a more, you can say it in a
public setting, and
you can just say it to people. Yeah, it's just like the best response to like people who are just being like, you know,
people who need to come off it.
Yeah, people who need to come off it. People who will start like going off about something crazy, or like, you know, it's like the people who are like screaming their heads off about Bud Light. You're like, just come off it. Like,
dude, okay,
you're fine.
We talked about that at work the other day, and by we I mean my manager who just got promoted came up to me on his last day with us, and he's like, "So, you heard about this Bud Light thing with the transgender?" And I'm like, "Oh my god, this is going to be a miserable conversation." And in the biggest possible move that I never would have expected, this man took the high ground saying, "It's just a marketing decision. They're trying to branch out their audience. Why bother getting mad? Just ignore it."
Yeah, that's like the most normal take.
Like, he proceeded to then say some like stupid remarks about other companies who have like sponsored trans people and everything like that. And I'm like, so I got to be like, actually, that's not how this works, and try to explain to him how it was, so that at the very least he's not going to just keep saying stupid shit. Yeah. But it was so funny just listening to this guy be like, what's Kid Rock got to be mad about? I mean, I get he's like one of Bud Light's like sponsors him, blah, whatever, you know, but what's it matter? He already got paid by them. Blah, 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 blah.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news to Mr. Rock, but I don't know how valuable that sponsorship is to anybody these days.
Nah, man. No, exactly. And to me, the funniest thing about the entire situation was this was a single video, a single promoted video that they did on one TikTok account that just some stupid people decided to see and blow up. More people saw the gay Bud Light can because people were mad about it than ever would have seen it otherwise.
It's also hilarious that it wasn't even like a commercially available thing.
No, it was like a special one-off can.
Yeah, it was like a special print, because they do special prints all the time.
So funny. And people were like, fine, Bud Light went woke, I'm going to go to a different beer. And well, what are you going to do, man? Every fucking big beer company knows that gay people are a huge audience that drink beer. They've all done pride events where they've paid to promote shit. Like, you're not going to find an unwoke beer, quote unquote. You know, like, no mass-produced company that actually, like, is an international brand does anti-gay things, for the most part. Like, obviously, yeah, Hobby Lobby and shit like that.
Yeah, but is Hobby Lobby even like an international brand, or do they just have like 3 stores in Canada too? Like, what else
That's
do they
probably
do?
more it.
But do they still have one in town, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Remember I used to go there. I don't remember why I used to go there. They used to have. I feel like I used to go to craft stores more.
I also did, and I know that it's
But I
because
don't
my
remember
mom was big
why.
into crafts. That was like a big thing that she was just like used to do more. But she was in a card making club as well, where you would make like your own thank you
Trading
cards and
cards?
stuff like that.
Oh,
Yeah, not trading cards, but it would, you'd buy like the stamps and different embossing tools and shit like that, and you'd just have some fun with it,
yeah.
And that was
I mean, crafts are a good time.
yeah. And we used to do stuff like that all the time. I have not set foot in a craft store since then, except when Nina moved up here, and now we go looking for paint and sketchbooks every now and then. And it's a lot of fun. I am enjoying in a big way seeing stuff like that, but then you start to lose the train of thought that you were trying to connect all your thoughts here with, and then you cede the point to the other host, hoping that they had something
Oh yeah.
more cohesive to say.
It was just more about like I think you were talking about the one store in particular. But
Oh
like,
yeah, no,
I mentioned I brought the aside about crafts being cool in general.
they are.
And it distracted from the point that you were initially making about large companies' international affairs.
Oh yeah, yeah. No international company is really going to take a stance against gay people. It doesn't make sense to. You're not only is it just kind of like a PR disaster to actually take a stance saying we hate gay people as an official stance.
It's a bit strange,
It does not make a lot of sense to say that.
especially because they usually don't actually believe that.
Well, exactly. There's no money to
And the
be
only
made
people who do it
doing
are
that.
doing it specifically because they're trying to make money off that other side of people.
Exactly. You drum up some business with outrage marketing. I mean, shit,
Yeah,
man.
I mean,
The
most
Bud
of what
Light
they
thing
do-
worked great for that. They managed to hit both sides of people who already bought Bud Light, throwing it away, and then buying a different Anheuser-Busch brand by accident. And then the gay people who were like, whatever, I'll have fun and order a Bud Light over the weekend to make straight people who are like that mad. This is funny.
I did get one at the baseball game.
Oh my god, it worked.
Only because it was 50 cents cheaper than the Summer Shandy, and I had exact change, but I didn't have the... if I would have got the Summer Shandy, I wouldn't have been able to leave any tip. So if I got the Bud Light, I would be able to leave $1.
Ooh,
So I did that.
There you go. And honestly,
And I think they're both owned by the same company anyway.
I think Bud Light is a really good ballpark beer.
I agree.
It's not something that it's a lot of the light beers, right? Like not something I really want to sit down and drink. But also if I'm
I usually drink like a Yingling.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I don't really like their light beer, the Flight.
the Yingling. No, I've never tried it either.
I don't like it. I've tried it a few times. It just doesn't. I like their regular, but it's too heavy for because it was like a nice 78 degree
it's
sunshiny
too heavy
day.
for
It's
a
like
hot
I'm not
day.
drinking. Yeah.
You need something that'll still hydrate you a tiny bit.
So the Summer Shandy comes in.
Summer
'Cause
Shandy.
It's 80% lemonade.
Exactly. And it's just a nice little it's hot and I have a cold beer kind of thing. Not enough to put you down, but enough to have the happiness of having a cold beer in the sun.
It was a good time at the baseball game, though. Except for the fact that I did eat the cursed hot dog.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
An allegedly cursed hot dog.
accused.
We won't
of
be
being
pointing
cursed.
any fingers at the cursed hot dogs, but is the cursed hot dog with us right now?
Police are continuing to investigate whether or not the hot dog was in fact cursed, but at the time we have no further information. Prosecutors do say that the hot dog was indeed cursed. However, the defense has yet to... We reached out to the defense for a statement and they have not replied.
Classic defense, dodging the statement.
That's always the most, if you're ever watching, the news or just, even reading, an article or anything, and they hit you with the, we reached out to so-and-so, but they declined to comment, it's the most, well, we tried, but they said no way. It's the most, cutting little, I don't know, jab. That's, still professional.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me of this one time when I was working with it was the Christian Young Adult group, and we had the Republican candidate for mayor in as a speaker one night.
Mm-hmm.
And firstly, it was really funny because everyone he was talking to, for the most part, was not from the city and thus could not vote for him. We were outside of the voting area in some way. And
Yeah, I'm sure, yeah.
which was very funny to me. But it was also very funny listening to the number of people that said, Oh, I see how it is. You got the Republican in to talk, but you couldn't take the time to get the Democrat candidate. And listening to the guy in charge, like, spinning his tires saying, no, we reached out to them and they just didn't want to do it. They never got back to us. And firstly, I don't think
Was
that
that
happened.
true, though?
I don't think they did reach out to them. Not in advance, at any rate. They
Well, and that's the
probably
thing,
reached
he also
out.
wasn't like held accountable for like you couldn't be like prove it. 'Cause
Exactly.
it did, it's not like Vice putting out an article saying that someone declined to comment. Because then if you're the company, you can be like, we got receipts, and you didn't ever reach out.
Mm-hmm. But like, I guarantee this man did not ask anyone else to come speak for us.
No,
Until after people were like, why didn't you ask? And it's like, hey, man, we tried. I don't know what to say. Oh, man. Crazy how that works. Anyway.
I do love when, like, anything professional puts out, like, a middle finger kind of statement.
Mm-hmm.
Where, like, that what they want to say is, we hate you.
Oh,
and you cannot do this, you're an idiot. But they have to be like, according to the regulations, you are actually disallowed to do practice in that manner. And what they like, there's something from PennDOT came out the other day about something or other. I don't want to get too into it, but basically the Department of Transportation was like, you can't do that, right? In the nicest possible, most professional terms to someone. They're really funny.
I love that, man. I love that.
It's like 3 paragraphs that are all essentially saying, you are dumb. Why did you think you could get away with this?
Have you ever had just like a moment where you see someone doing something that, like, not only is it not allowed, but it hasn't been allowed for like a really long time, and it's like, why are you doing that? Example, I'm at work and someone just like rips their vape in the middle of the store. I'm like, dude, you can't vape in here. And this has happened to me like 3 times now, and the response is always, oh, yeah, my bad. And it's like, how are you going to forget you can't vape inside?
They didn't. They just don't care, and you can't stop them. And you can just be like, don't do that. And they'll be like, oh, sorry, and they won't do it anymore.
Yeah.
But they already did it. You know what I'm glad has kind of gone really out of style? The old box mod vapes.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. I'm not going to lie. I liked those when they were, like, big. Like, not big in size, but also, yes, big in size. And
there
big
was a time when they were the style,
Yeah.
but they were also the only real option.
Not only were they the only real option, but they were big in style, and you would be able to peg a guy from, like, 20 feet away as being just a giant asshole because he would have it with him in his hand or sitting on the table.
The best were, like, always in the hand were the funniest. The people who wear it as like a necklace.
Oh my god, I hate those.
That's the most, like, they'll be like, yeah, I'm using this to quit smoking. My man, you're wearing it as a necklace. It cannot be that effective of a tool to get you off of nicotine if you have it built into your outfit as an accessory.
Oh, no, Jackson. It's not to get me off nicotine. It's to quit smoking. It's different.
That's so true. They're like, no, I still want nicotine. I'm not trying to stop. I just don't want to smoke it. Like, all right, man.
Like the little pen ones now, they're so much lower profile. It's harder to get like a gigantic lungful. You're not like breathing out like a fog machine anymore.
Yeah.
Like it's normal. It's better stuff now.
They're pretty inoffensive, yeah.
It's so much less like visually there than like a
Yeah, the people who went out of their way to make their like vape as visible as possible to everyone within like a mile, like it's literally sending out smoke signals.
Yeah, you like
talking about like
exhale
clouds.
like a cloud into the air, big old pillar of smoke, and the thing would be as like just a little bit smaller than your fist, and it would light up when you're sucking on it, and it's like, calm down.
This is not as cool as you think it is.
It
was for a while, unfortunately, kind of cool.
It was. God, I just remember Marine Corps guy. He picked that up for a while with like the biggest mod, just like giant.
Did he ever stop?
I assume he did, but I'm not actually sure. I think he just took up regular smoking, but he was getting such a hit of nicotine with each hit. It was essentially an entire cigarette's worth of nicotine per puff.
Yeah, I think people really, like, the thing about vaping is people have really forgotten, like, yes, while smoking is bad for you, half the problems with smoking are also nicotine related.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of them are based on the fact that you're also inhaling, like, however much, depending on how much you're smoking, because a lot of people, it's an insane amount, but the nicotine itself is not good for you.
Yeah.
That's another part of the problem.
Like, the
so,
tar isn't
vaping
the
is
only
healthier, but like, the nicotine is still like a chemical, but it's acting as a stimulant in your system. It's terrible for your heart. Just a PSA, in case all the off the air listeners love nicotine.
Like, I don't know. I think it is really interesting that smoking on the whole had really heavily died off, and then vaping came in and brought it right back, but in vape form. It's kind of a bummer when you look back on it, because like,
it is so funny to see how like smoking was genuinely on the decline and had been for a long time, and vaping actually resurrected smoking in some capacity.
Fucking wild.
It's still on the decline either way, though. Like, it's not like people are, I don't know.
Yeah, it's not like people are heavily still like, the more restrictions getting put in place for like different flavors so that kids aren't into it as hard. The amount of nicotine you can put, the concentration is like being limited. Stuff like that.
Yeah,
but
and like the flavor thing just makes so much sense. Like, it's not that big a deal. And if you're like a grown ass adult and you're like really, really sad that you can't vape mango flavor anymore, then just get a pack of gum.
Right.
Like, if you love like to taste like mango, there's things that taste like mango. One of them being a fruit.
What?
And you can dry it, and you could, you can have a little snack with you. You can walk around and you can have a little snack. You can have a little bag of dried mango.
Yeah, honestly.
And you know what it tastes like? It tastes like mango.
It does taste like mango.
Just like vaped it. Sure, there's some calories added. There's a little sugar in there, but
you know what else it has is fiber, and you know what many people are sadly lacking in their diet is like fiber.
So true.
And that's why you should eat a Fiber One every single day. This is a podcast episode brought to you by
Fiber One.
You ever had a Fiber One?
I think I've had like a Fiber One brownie before. Only 90 calories.
Oh, is that? I think I've also had a Fiber One brownie, and it's like, I don't know how else to say it. But you can taste that it's a fiber brownie, and it's such a
like, it's not bad, but you can taste that it's a fiber thing.
Yeah,
and you're as you're eating it, you're like, this is nice, but I can tell that this is not supposed to be edible fully. Like, part of this is not edible, but part of this is non-digestible, and I can sense that as I'm eating it.
Yeah, you eat this shit, and it's just like, this tastes like a chocolate brownie, but it also tastes like chocolate brownie.
Yeah, you're like, it tastes like fiber, and that's fine. It's a fiber supplement, and they are tasty.
But there is a slight element of Flintstones gummy vitamins to it, where it's like,
I feel like more
really
products
just don't
that are like that.
Eat real fiber, huh?
Yeah.
Flip side though,
more Fiber One style products just need to be like, it's a Fiber One brownie, and they need to not do the ads where they're like, you'll never even know. They should just be like, it's pretty good, and it's good for you.
Yeah, like I'm
you can
big
taste that it's got some
snack
fiber.
guy. I love snacks. I love snacks so much. I really try to limit my access to snacks because I know how I'm like.
Snacksess.
Someone brought Oreos to work to share, and I am aware of my issue with Oreos. If I have a pack of Oreos at home, I will eat the entire pack in a day.
Oh, Noah's got the Oreos again.
Exactly. So like, I was like, ooh, this is the first Oreo I've had in a long while. This is kind of nice. But
I will go absolutely ballistic on those EL fudge cookies.
Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah, I'll go Stalingrad on those bad boys. Speaking of, when I was I don't know how I forgot to say it. Well, how did I forget to mention this? How did I forget this? When I was buying the rocks.
Oh yeah.
The store also had, because it's, they sell crystals, they also sell, glassware for weed smokers.
Whoa, that's bad. You
know, kill them, cuff them, get them out of here, degenerates. But they sell like glassware stuff, and it was not that far away, and I looked over and saw in the cabinet a Baby Yoda bong.
No.
Yes. It's true. I don't know if it was like I don't know if it was like a bong. It was probably something else that's like bong adjacent. I don't know what like all the terms are, but it was something, and it looked like it was Baby Yoda shaped, and it was made for the imbibement of cannabis. So I did see that they have now started making Baby Yoda themed weed merchandise. I almost bought it, but it was like $49, and I was like, this isn't really that funny. And then if I were to give it to you, you would have to own that. and then explain to people like, yeah, that's a Baby Yoda bong.
I'm gonna Google it and just see if. Oh my god!
It was smaller. It wasn't like a.
Yeah, it is not a giant Baby Yoda bong.
Yes, send me with the image that you've got.
No, I got a normal.
I can verify. I didn't take a
one.
picture. I didn't want to like pull my phone out and like take a picture in the store because I felt like that would have been kind of weird.
No, I get it. I got a normal one.
Oh yeah, it's that. That's
I got him with eyeballs all over him, like the pattern.
No,
here
it's the one you just sent. That's that. You can put that on screen if you're so inclined.
No, it's okay. Literally, it's the first result if you Google Baby Yoda bong. Man, this is upsetting.
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't think it's. I think it's just like a pipe with like a piece of silicone on it.
Like, there's a lot of Baby Yoda bowls I've seen.
And I think that's what this is, just like with a weird silicone body attached. Like, I think it looks like a piece of glass runs through it, and the rest of it doesn't appear to be part of the apparatus.
I don't know, man. Here's a picture of it
out?
taken apart.
I guess that's how you clean it out.
Yeah, it looks like his head pops off, and I don't really know how this looks or how this like.
That sucks. Yeah, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
Imagine if you like went to like a friend's house and they were like, "Hey man, I've got some weed. Do you want to smoke?" And then they pulled out that.
I don't know if I could.
What would you do?
I think I'd die.
Wow, on the spot?
I don't know how I would handle that.
Yeah, I would probably, I'd probably be like, I wouldn't want to be like too rude right then, but let's just say whenever I ended up going home, I wouldn't probably hang out with that person again. I think that would be a little bit of our like that would I probably wouldn't see that person again.
Like, obviously, we have our haha jokes of Dan being a Star Wars guy. I think it would be really funny if Dan had a Baby Yoda bong just because it would be funny.
He's allowed now.
But if I went to hang out with Dan and he legitimately hands me the Baby Yoda bong and is like, "Here, take a hit out of this," I would have to really seriously reconsider our friendship.
Yeah, there are just so few apparatuses that are in any way tied to any property that wouldn't just make me not want to hang out with that person anymore.
Now here's just a classy normal pipe that has Baby Yoda on it.
I want to get an Oda.
An Oda bong.
Yeah, I can't believe I forgot to mention that I saw that when I was talking about the rocks.
I also can't believe that you didn't mention it. I'm so glad you did right here before the end, though, because, man, oh my god, it's a Baby Yoda made out of pipe cleaner. You could use that to clean your Baby Yoda bong.
Stop looking at what close the tab.
I'm closing the tab.
Just get out of there.
It's just such a...
You're in too deep.
It's such a spot to be, isn't it? Just like...
It really is.
Just looking at that shit, man, I do hate it.
Yeah. I'm glad you got to see it.
Thanks. It's
because that is the exact one,
man.
Which is fair. I mean, this wasn't like a place that I would have believed was making these things themselves. It's a pretty small shop.
Yeah,
so
right.
Probably bottom of that website.
Although I will say there are places in Erie that make custom glassware.
There are, yeah. But a lot of times it's prohibitively expensive.
Yeah.
And you can just get like you just carve your own. I think glass blowing would be fun.
No, I'm with you. Glass blowing sounds like a lot of fun. I think I've got the creativity bug right now where I just want to make some dumb little crafty thing. I'm probably going to just sew more spikes onto my vest, but like, man, I would love to have something.
I've just been making pies lately.
I have seen your pies. They look really good.
I've just been making pies all the time.
I've heard your crust recipe is good. Where did you acquire it?
The ancient Rome, essentially. It's the same standard pastry crust that has been in use since they initially started adding fat to flour in Samaria.
Wild.
Yeah, just flour, butter, water, salt. I don't use shortening. I don't use margarine. Lard I would potentially use, but it's just, lard is harder to get than butter. And usually more expensive unless you're like getting it from like an actual butcher or...
I got a tub of the stuff, like a gallon tub. It's not that expensive. You just have to look in the Hispanic aisle.
Where'd you get a gallon of it though? Isn't that a little much?
Walmart. Oh, why did I get? Oh, it's the only size.
Oh, see, that's the thing. I don't really need a gallon.
Oh yeah, no, I got like a gallon of it, and it wasn't too expensive, and it's because Nina told me how much she liked to cook pancakes in it because it gets super hot and they get super crispy.
That's super true. Yeah, lard is nice, and I think it's really underrated because it got kind of a stigma attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
With like lard being like actually interchangeable for fat, like as a word, like as an insult even, that is used against people, and in order to, like, if lard is something that someone can call you that would make you feel bad, why would you ever want to eat it?
Also, not for nothing, the vegetable shortening craze definitely did a lot of PR work to make lard sound undesirable.
Yeah.
My parents have a collection of like commercials from the 30s, 40s, and 50s, or maybe it's the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Regardless, there's just a bunch of commercials about like shortening, like vegetable shortening, and how it's digestible.
Shortening sucks.
And it's like one of its big claims to fame is how digestible it is, and it's not as fattening as lard. And it's like, okay, and although, have you ever considered making your own?
My own shortening?
No, your own lard.
No.
It's something that you can do if you like have a big fatty chunk of meat. You can cook the fat down.
Just render your own pork fat?
Yeah, render out your own fat. And I've considered doing that. Just like every now and then I'll come across it on like TikTok and watch people doing it. And I'm like, oh, this is really an interesting idea to me.
I've seen people rendering their own fat before. I mean, in terms of like survival situations, like people with like beavers is something that you want to render the fat with. Mm-hmm. But no, I've never rendered any of my own lard before. I've also don't really mess around with like cuts of meat that would be fatty enough to really do that with.
Yeah, fair enough. Every now and then I'll get like just a big chunk of beef or pork because it's what we're gonna cook up easy.
Yeah, and
it'll come with a big fat cap on it. Although the fat cap, when you cook it, it keeps your meat moist, and that's kind of an important reason for it to be there.
I feel like, don't people usually render fat from like the pre-butcher stages?
A lot of that. I don't know.
Because like butchers are usually the ones who will be able to sell you more lard because they're trimming the fat before they give you the cut. Mm-hmm. So like the fat cap that's on there is like the fat that still is like, that's the one that they're like, that's not worth taking off because it makes it better. Just go butcher your own hogs.
Get out there.
Nobody wants to work these days.
Nobody does. Nobody at all.
Nobody wants to render their own lard these days.
No one wants to raise and butcher their own hogs.
That's the problem with society.
More people.
Not enough people butchering their own hogs. They're just cranking their hogs to animate girls.
It's disgraceful is what it is.
But what you should do is butchering your hogs and then rendering their fat into lard to make better pancakes.
What was it when fucking Russia first started doing shit in Ukraine recently, and people were like, oh, the Russian army versus the US they them pronouns army.
No. We have one of those?
Yep. It's what it is, and damn, it's so true. Definitely not a very stupid thing to say.
My favorite are when people will be like, we'll post a video on TikTok that's like, people don't know what it's like to work anymore. Now they're just sitting there at the work site on their phones. And the whole time the video that's being filmed is like the person doing work on the work site.
Right.
On their phone is what's recording them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it is funny, isn't it? But you have some guy with like Bad to the Bone / the Home Depot theme style music playing.
And he only talks like
don't know how to do any good work.
Because all he does is chain smoke and drink hard liquor, not like that Bud Light crap you people drink. I'm a real man who does real work.
When you see like a 30-year-old man on like a construction site being like, people don't know how to work anymore. Does that include you, man? Because you're there. Mm-hmm. Like, what's your excuse?
Yeah.
Are you like the exception, or maybe does it feel good to put the problem onto other people and hold yourself above the rest?
Holy shit.
Because maybe that's like how everybody does their job, and it's kind of like ubiquitous in the American workplace. Everybody thinks they're like the most valuable employee. That's like how your employer manages to keep you underfoot. That's the whole crux of it. Convincing you that you're the one who's working the hardest, doing the best.
But Jackson, I am the one working hardest and doing the best.
You are. Yeah, you are.
Oh, thank God. Okay. I was worried for a second I wasn't.
Please stay.